Mr Mayor, do you regret not exercising closer oversight of the schemes you funded in Barking and Dagenham, given that this has resulted in high-rise developments that are effectively death traps, long vacant industrial blocks, and residential blocks where serious construction defects, including falling balconies, have emerged?
So there are a number of processes in place in relation to the funding we secure from the government to give to developers across the city. Clearly, it's not possible when you've got the sort of projects we funded for us to micromanage all of those or inspect all of those. To give you an idea of the scale of homes that have been built since my mayoralty, 116,000 started, between 80 and 86,000 completed between 2016 and 2023. We're now supporting a further 17,000 odd homes. We simply can't, from City Hall, inspect all of those. Where there are breaches, rules not followed, issues, there is provision to claw back any grant funding we have given, and also remedial action we can take in. So if there's any particular cases the member has, I'm more than happy for him to let me know what they are and we'll look into them.
Well, there is 12 Thames Road. There is Industria, the development that you supported as well, and there is the Weavers' Quarter. All of those developments are disasters, and it's down to, and all of them were supported by you. In fact, in terms of Industria, you gave them £1 million to look at the design and development of Industria, the warehouse in Barking. And that design and development resulted in them putting in the wrong sprinkler system, making it almost impossible for it to be used as a warehouse. Back in February 2024, Mr Mayor, the Assembly made a unanimous recommendation to you that you should investigate your investments in Barking and Dagenham. You declined and said it's not my problem, Gov. Do you think it really is your problem that you are throwing money at boroughs that have demonstrated they have no ability to spend it wisely?
Well, Chair, there's lots of issues there raised, and I'll have you give me the time to respond to the various issues that have been raised by the member. So City Hall, Land and Property Fund projects, not just that councils are responsible for, not just that housing associations are responsible for, not just that development corporations are responsible for, not just that developers are responsible for, not just that small developers are responsible for, cooperatives and so forth. So it's simply not realistic for the City Hall team to be inspecting from start to finish every single scheme.
With respect, Mr Mayor, I'm not asking you to do every single scheme. I really am not. And neither did the Assembly unanimously in 2024. They said, look at Barking and Dagenham. Its record is appalling. And yet you've decided that you don't want to do that. So to end this quickly, Mr Mayor, if you could write to me and re-look at that recommendation from the Assembly back in February 2024, and just write to me as to whether or not you regret not taking more action.
No, Chair, I'd like to respond now. So we've got 32 boroughs in London and a detailed history of devolution. The idea that the GLA will be acting intra-virus going into a council, we've got no locus to take over the building enforcement role, building control role is nonsense.
You simply haven't got the ability to have the power to decide which boroughs to fund. That's in your responsibility.
So the members raised issues of building control, essentially. And the issue is, why didn't the building control in a respective borough check that the conditions of planning were met by the developer? The problem is, in this particular case, from what he's said just now, that conditions were put down on the developer, they weren't followed through.
There are buildings standing right now in East London that people are afraid to live in. Balconies that have fallen, sprinkler systems fitted incorrectly, high rises sitting half empty, crumbling quietly while families wait years on housing lists. And the question being asked at City Hall is simple and devastating. Who is responsible? What just happened? At a tense session of Mayor's Question Time, Sadiq Khan faced sustained pressure from Assembly members over a string of failed housing developments in Barking and Dagenham. 3 specific sites were put to him directly: 12 Tenpennies Road, the Industrial Warehouse Development, and Weavers Quarter. All 3 have serious problems. All 3 received GLA backing. The sharpest moment came over Industria. The Mayor's office gave £1 million toward its design and redevelopment. What followed was a warehouse fitted with the wrong sprinkler system, rendering it essentially unfit for purpose. When the Assembly unanimously, across party lines, recommended back in February 2024 that Khan investigate his investments in Barking and Dagenham, he declined. At this week's session, he was asked to explain why. Then came a second line of attack: a 73% collapse in new housing starts across London, a proposal to abolish stamp duty for primary residents to unlock the market, and a broader conversation about whether City Hall has any real plan or whether it's simply managing decline. Why this is bigger than it looks. The defence Khan offered was essentially a numbers game. Over 116,000 homes funded since he took office, tens of thousands completed. He cannot, he argued, inspect every single development. And technically, he's right, building control sits with individual boroughs, not the GLA. But that's precisely the problem. When public money leaves City Hall and enters a borough with, as one Assembly member put it, an appalling record, the question of oversight doesn't disappear just because the legal responsibility does. The Mayor chose to fund Barking and Dagenham repeatedly. He had the power to attach conditions. He had a unanimous Assembly recommendation telling him something was wrong. He didn't act. For ordinary Londoners, this isn't abstract. It's the family in a flat where the balcony isn't safe. It's the tenant who doesn't know whether their building meets fire safety standards. It's the first-time buyer who can't get a mortgage on an off-plan property while overseas investors snap them up with cash. The system is failing people at every level, and the argument over who technically holds responsibility is cold comfort to anyone living inside it. The political strategy at play. Khan's approach throughout was classic rope-a-dope: flood the answer with scale and complexity, reference devolution principles, redirect blame to boroughs, developers, building control. It's a defensible position legally, but politically it's increasingly threadbare, especially when the Assembly voted unanimously against you and you simply said no. The opposition, meanwhile, is trying to thread a needle, push Khan on accountability for failures while also pitching market-friendly solutions like stamp duty reform. The problem is those two lines of attack can undercut each other. One demands more government intervention, the other demands less. Khan spotted it immediately and used it. What was genuinely interesting was the moment of cross-party common ground, rental history being factored into mortgage applications, more flexible lending on off-plan properties, small technical reforms that could actually shift the market. Khan admitted he hadn't read the opposition's housing report, but said he would. Whether that's political grace or political deflection, time will tell. What this means going forward. London's housing crisis is not a new story. But the combination of unsafe existing developments and a collapse in new builds creates a pincer movement that is getting harder to spin away. If Khan won't investigate Barking and Dagenham, that refusal will follow him. Every balcony that falls makes it louder. The Mayor of London does not control everything, but he controls where the money goes. And right now, some of that money built death traps.